In the quiet early hours of Valentine's Day 2019, Olivia Jones moved through the aisles of a supermarket in Beaumont, Texas, carefully selecting ingredients for a romantic dinner. She wanted everything to be perfect, a small gesture of love for her husband, Christopher Jones. As she reached for a bouquet of pink and red roses, symbols of love and devotion, she had no idea that in less than 40 minutes, she would be fighting for her life, a tragic consequence of what many would later call toxic love. At 7:32 a.m., a frantic 911 call shattered the morning silence.
Beaumont 911, what is the address of your emergency?
Olivia! Please, hurry. Customer take the gun.
Tell me what's going on.
I'm at home. I'm fighting inside the head. Please.
Somebody shot in the head.
My wife, please.
Tell me,
Okay.
where is she shot?
In the head.
Okay, where in the head?
Take it and it went off.
Okay. I want you to try to control the...
As soon as the 911 call ended, officers were dispatched to the Beaumont, Texas home of Chris and Olivia Jones. The house, located at 557 Pine Burr Boulevard, was quiet when they arrived at 8:55 a.m. Officer Otis Butler was one of the first on the scene. As he stepped out of his patrol car, he was met by a familiar face, 40-year-old Christopher Ray Jones. Chris was visibly distressed, pacing back and forth in the driveway. His body language was erratic, his voice shaky.
She in my bedroom. Where's the gun?
In the bedroom, broken down on the dresser. Come this way.
Okay.
Please, come this way. This way.
Okay.
Please. Olivia!
He led officers inside, rushing them toward the bedroom. What they found inside would tell a very different story. Lying face down on the bedroom floor was Olivia.
Baby!
Sir. Okay. Step back.
What's up, Mr. Butler? I tried to take it.
Get his gun.
She had been shot in the head. A single bullet had entered through her right eye, leaving blood splattered across the walls and floor. But what shocked officers the most was that she was still breathing. Paramedics were called in immediately. As they worked to stabilize Olivia, Officer Butler turned his attention back to Chris. Chris, still in a frantic state, began explaining what had happened.
What happened? We had a disagreement. And I say, baby, if you're not working with me, you're working against me. I say, we've been doing this. My 19-year-old stepdaughter was 8. My 11-year-old was 1. I say, Olivia, we can't get it together. We can't be together.
Then he claimed Olivia grabbed the gun.
Okay. We got several, and I say, I just want a divorce. And her reaction was, she got the gun? I said, give me the gun. She like, I don't remember which hand. I'm like, give me that gun. What is you doing? Stop trying to scare me. I took it.
So when you grabbed it, it went off?
She yanked. I grabbed it and she yanked back. And the gun went off.
Okay.
According to Chris, he tried to take the gun from her, and in the struggle, the gun went off. A tragic accident, he insisted. But his story wasn't making sense. Chris was a large, physically strong man. Olivia was significantly smaller. The idea that she had overpowered him in a struggle for a gun seemed unlikely. Then there was his reaction. When Officer Butler confirmed that Olivia was still breathing, Chris's response wasn't relief.
Mr. Butler, I got help.
No. You don't need to go in there, okay?
Is she alive?
Yeah, she is.
She is.
We got him.
Is she alive, Mr. Butler?
When we went in there,
Please don't tell me she's alive if she's not.
Yeah, when I saw her, she was.
She was talking?
She wasn't talking.
Is she breathing?
It looked like she was breathing.
Ooh, good.
Like, don't go in there, sir.
Please.
Sir, I need you to stay right here with me, okay? And calm down.
The way he said it was strange. There was no happiness, no hope, just panic. Another red flag. As officers secured the house, they quickly found inconsistencies in Chris's story. The gun was discovered in a different room, not where the shooting took place. Chris had claimed Olivia was holding the gun when it went off. But if that were true, how did the weapon end up somewhere else? The only logical explanation was that Chris had moved it. At that point, officers made a decision. Chris needed to be detained. As he was being handcuffed, his 19-year-old daughter, Ariel, arrived at the house. She had already been contacted by Chris, who told her what happened. The moment she saw him in handcuffs, she broke down in tears. Officers tried to console her, but Chris remained silent as he was placed in the back of the patrol car. By the time lead detective Mendy Freeman and Sergeant Ayat Barrero arrived, the case was already looking suspicious.
According to him, she grabs a 9mm in their bedroom. And she did that. He claims he reached for the gun to try to get it from her. And when he reached for it, and they struck.
Chris was taken to the station, where his blood-covered hands were photographed.
They're waiting for the lead detectives. They're going to be the ones that actually interview you. So.
At the crime lab, forensic specialists began analyzing the evidence. As detectives prepared to interrogate Chris, Olivia was still fighting for her life. If she survived, she could tell them everything. And if she didn't, it would be up to the evidence to speak for her.
I am very particular. If you heard that, that's true. I am very particular. You strive for the best for people. I work really hard, and I don't make excuses for myself, and I don't accept excuses.
What did you say?
Really? You serious? Really? This is not going to solve anything.
Okay.
You know, this is not, you do not want to do that. Put that freaking gun down before you make a mistake and hurt yourself. She was crying. She was crying.
Detectives needed to corroborate Chris's story, so they turned to the home security cameras he had installed throughout the house. Chris willingly handed over his cell phone, which had access to the footage.
Hey, if you want to access just that camera, you touch that. And that's just that camera. Okay? You follow what I'm saying?
So far, let's go back to devices.
Yes, sir. And everything is labeled.
Carport, backyard, front door, back door, laundry room, inside garage, living room, kitchen.
The house had multiple surveillance cameras, outside the front door, in the backyard, inside the garage, and even inside the living room and kitchen. The footage was expected to reveal the moment Olivia grabbed the gun, as Chris claimed. But what investigators found instead only deepened their suspicions. At 8:41 a.m., Olivia can be seen in the kitchen, going about her morning routine. Then the video suddenly cuts out. For exactly 3 minutes, there is no footage. When the recording resumes at 8:44 a.m., Olivia is no longer in sight. Instead, Chris is pacing through the house while on the phone with 911. At 8:55 a.m., officers arrive at the home. This meant that Olivia must have been shot during the 3-minute gap, a critical moment conveniently missing from the footage. In the interrogation room, detectives immediately confronted Chris about the missing footage.
We're still trying to pull up these videos here, okay? Why would there be no recordings on it?
I don't know. It should be. Everybody that went in that house should be on it. But like I said, the internet, you can go through days and it pretty much does it. We shouldn't have bought that. You just keep, like, you can pick whatever day you want and it's never going to be consistent. That's why I said it was a waste of money.
Well, I'm wanting desperately to find some video on here that corroborates what you're telling us, but almost all the videos start right after this.
Chris suddenly blamed the internet. Detectives weren't buying it. The footage only cut out for the exact 3 minutes when Olivia was shot, and Chris was the only person in the house who had access to the system. It looked like deliberate tampering. With no video evidence to support his claims, detectives had Chris reenact how the supposed struggle over the gun took place. Chris stood up and demonstrated how Olivia allegedly grabbed the gun and how he tried to pull it away. But his movements didn't make sense.
They do my initial, she pulls it. Give me the okay. Then I go. I'm sorry.
You're good.
No, you're good.
I don't
I'm
want the
sorry.
chair.
I'm sorry. You're fine.
I like the chair, man.
I'm reliving it.
How you are?
I'm reliving it.
So she should be shot in the back of her right head.
Did you feel me twist your? Did you feel me twist?
Back here.
Did you feel me twist your?
Detectives watched closely. Every time they pressed him for specifics, Chris's story kept shifting. It became painfully clear. He was not describing what actually happened. He was trying to make his version of events fit the evidence. As suspicion grew, detectives turned to Olivia's family, starting with her sister, Angela. Angela revealed what Olivia had never told the police.
Olivia Jones is your sister, right? We've been talking a lot lately. We talk every day. I drop her baby to her at the tax office. She's always been timid about everything. But she was the type that whatever went on in their home, she would keep it there.
Yeah. Kind of a private.
Right, private person.
Yeah.
She loved her baby so much that she felt like she had to live for them, you know.
Chris was controlling. He dictated when Olivia could use the phone and how much money she had access to. He isolated her from her family, refusing to attend reunions or let her spend too much time with relatives. Olivia never spoke up about the abuse. She believed that keeping quiet was the safest option.
She can't talk on the phone after a certain time. He controlled the finances. He never wanted to be in the presence of her family. Family reunions, anything, he never came. But she would have to step off, and when he would call, and all you could hear was him screaming and yelling on the phone. His character is agitation. Like, his character is to be aggressive. I just don't get it. Because all she wanted, my sister was a married type. All she wanted was to be loved.
Yeah.
She loved love. Like, she loved her babies. She wanted to live for her babies.
Then detectives spoke with Chris's ex-wife, Letitia. Her testimony was even more chilling.
I met Chris Jones in 1999. It was just like a constant fight. Like, he strangled me, choked me out, drugged me through the house. My skin was missing off my back. One time he bit my hand. He had this bite marks in my hand. This was what it was. If the house not clean, he's told me that he would kill me if I was to ever leave him. Told me how he would do it. The reason I never said anything or went for help was because I was extremely in fear of my life. Because I knew and I felt in my heart that he would kill me.
She described years of violent abuse, saying Chris had strangled her, dragged her through the house, threatened to kill her if she ever left. But the most damning allegations came from Olivia's daughter, Ariel. She had witnessed everything.
One time they were arguing and I heard her say she couldn't breathe. I would see bruises on her. It broke her down to the point where she believed what he said.
Mm-hmm.
You won't be nothing without me, stuff like that.
Right.
Everybody knows my mom. Everybody knows my mom. Everybody knows that we were her world.
She had seen bruises on Olivia. And worst of all, she knew how Chris had broken her down. With tampered security footage, an inconsistent story, and overwhelming evidence of a history of abuse, detectives knew the truth. This wasn't a tragic accident. This was a cold, calculated act of violence. And now it was time for Chris to face justice. As detectives continued pressing Chris about the missing footage, his excuses started to fall apart.
To be honest, that's videos.
I look guilty. I deleted those videos. I look guilty.
Not if you say right now, what you just say a little while ago, I freaked out, I panicked, I did some stuff I shouldn't have done. Is that one of them?
Yes.
How many did you delete?
I don't know, honestly.
Okay.
I'm just afraid of being blamed for something I did do something that looks really bad on me.
Despite his partial confession, he still refused to say exactly what happened in those 3 minutes. The deleted footage was never recovered, but detectives didn't need it because what they found in the remaining footage was just as damning. While combing through weeks of security footage, detectives uncovered disturbing moments from Chris and Olivia's daily life. Chris had installed cameras inside their home, most likely to control and monitor Olivia. But now those very cameras were exposing his true nature.
Then you're gonna be looking stupid. Look on the floor. Look on the floor. Look on the floor, Mike. Look on the floor. Look on the floor. Look on the floor. Look on that. Why is that like that? You're not paying attention. What the man?
Hey, Leah.
We wasn't worried about the son of a bitch a minute ago. That's your mother. Look at me like that, bitch. I'm not playing with you. Lazy. You want to do some shit, not enough? Give it here. You got all the goddamn answers. You don't do a goddamn thing around this. Right. This your ass, bitch. That's clean dish. That's clean.
I didn't want to. They fell on the floor, so I didn't want to reuse them.
You look at it. You don't pay attention to what the f you doing. You all over the place, Olivia. You ain't got the chance to explain no f***ing off. Food on the wall. Who you bringing now?
Me.
Harriet don't live here. It's you.
The footage showed Chris berating Olivia over small things, calling her names, humiliating her in front of her own daughter. Explosive outbursts where Olivia remains silent or submissive.
When I got the show ass, you didn't have a job. You collected unemployment. You just had off. And most men in this world want a woman that got what? You wouldn't be doing this if I wouldn't have got upset. You would have bagged that. Life would be so much easier for me if you start thinking. You do dumb because you don't think.
His tone was cold and demeaning, cutting into Olivia's confidence with every word. Family members had already told detectives that Chris was controlling, but now they had visual proof of the emotional and psychological abuse Olivia endured every day. And this wasn't just an isolated event. Chris's ex-wife, Letitia, had already described years of violent abuse. And when detectives dug into his past, they found multiple assault charges dating back to 1996. A pattern was forming. Chris had a history of violence against women, and Olivia had been trapped in a cycle of control and fear. Days later, forensic analysis from the crime lab came back, and it destroyed Chris's version of events. Blood spatter patterns showed that Olivia had been shot from behind, not during a struggle. There was no gunshot residue on Olivia's hands, meaning she had never held the gun. There was gunshot residue on Chris's hands and clothing. This confirmed what detectives already suspected. Chris's entire story, about Olivia grabbing the gun, about a struggle, was a lie. There was no struggle. Chris executed his wife.
A Beaumont man is now facing murder charges in a Valentine's Day shooting of his wife. Police say this man, Christopher Ray Jones, who worked as a correctional counselor at the Beaumont Federal Prison, killed his wife, Olivia.
With overwhelming evidence, authorities charged Chris with first-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter in April 2019. But what happened next shocked everyone. Within 24 hours, Chris posted bail. For just $150,000, a man accused of murdering his wife in cold blood was allowed to walk free, with nothing but a GPS monitor to track him. The community was outraged.
Now a man charged with murdering his wife is back at their home.
40-year-old Christopher Ray Jones was arrested and charged with shooting his wife in the face on Valentine's Day. His bond was set at $150,000. He paid and is now out.
Many taking to social media to voice their concerns, stating things like, "Can't believe he's out on a $150,000 bond. That's crazy. What's wrong with our system?" And, "Can't believe they would make his bond so low that he got out. He should not be walking the streets."
To make matters worse, Chris was allowed to continue running his family food truck business, right next to his home, where Olivia had been murdered. For Olivia's grieving family, this was a slap in the face.
This food truck on Concord Road in Beaumont is a hot topic on social media. It's not generating rave reviews from many, but condemnation from a grieving family.
I don't see how would anyone want to support someone who murdered their wife on Valentine's Day, which is a day that we are supposed to celebrate love. And the day that she was going to celebrate that with him, he decides to take her life.
Despite the overwhelming evidence against him, Chris was out on the streets, living his life, while Olivia's children were left without a mother. But justice wasn't finished with Chris Jones yet, and soon he would pay the price. Chris Jones may have been walking free before trial, But Olivia's family refused to let her memory fade. On the one-year anniversary of her death, they gathered at Rogers Park, releasing purple and red balloons in her honor. Purple for domestic violence awareness, red because it was Olivia's favorite color. For Olivia's family, grief had turned into frustration because Chris still wasn't behind bars.
This Valentine's Day,
Praying for you.
purple and red balloons filled Rogers Park.
Purple means domestic violence, and red was one of her favorite colors.
1 year ago today, Joshua Simmons lost his sister.
Valentine's Day was one of her favorite holidays.
I would give almost anything to have her back right now.
What's this year been like for you and your family?
If you can wrap it up in one word, it would be frustrating.
Frustrated with the fact that Jones isn't behind bars. Now the family wants to raise awareness for domestic violence, but more than anything, they want justice for Olivia.
We want him to spend the rest of his life in prison, while my sister spent the rest of her life in the grave.
Over 3 years after Olivia's murder, Chris Jones finally went to trial in February 2022. The courtroom was packed with family members from both sides. The prosecution, led by Jimmy Ham and Mike Law, painted Chris as an abusive partner with a violent past. Someone who had spent years controlling Olivia until one day it escalated into murder. The defense, led by Ryan Gertz, claimed that Chris had only grabbed the gun to protect them both, arguing that Olivia was recklessly handling the weapon and that her death was an accident. But the forensic evidence proved otherwise. Forensic pathologist Celestina Rossi took the stand, presenting a critical piece of analysis. Olivia had no gunshot residue on her hands. There was no way she had been holding the gun when it fired. The blood spatter patterns showed that Chris had fired the shot deliberately. The evidence directly contradicted Chris's story, and in the end, the jury didn't believe him either. On February 8, 2022, after 3 years of waiting, the jury returned its decision. Chris Jones was found guilty of murdering his wife, Olivia Jones.
1,118 days. That's how long Olivia Jones's family says they've waited for this moment. The moment when Olivia's husband, Christopher Jones, was found guilty of murder. Olivia died at the hands of her husband on Valentine's Day 2019.
Her family had waited 1,118 days for this moment. But just when it seemed like Chris would spend the rest of his life in prison, the prosecution offered him a deal. In exchange for waiving his right to appeal, he would receive a 30-year sentence, avoiding the risk of a harsher punishment. After the verdict, Olivia and Chris's 2 daughters took the stand. Looking directly at their father, one of them, now 14 years old, spoke through tears. "I'll forgive you one day, but right now I can't." The room fell silent. Chris said nothing. Chris Jones is currently serving his sentence at the John M. Wynn unit in Huntsville, Texas. For Olivia's family, justice was bittersweet. She had spent years trapped in a cycle of abuse, and in the end, she couldn't escape it. But in the courtroom that day, as her family walked out, they said the same thing to each other over and over. Today was all about Olivia, and she won. What are your thoughts on this? Comment below and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this.